Jessica back with another Rendezvous for
Hello.
our Hamilton tour. And we're here with another edition of our playlist, which is coming up on July 28th, Canadian Winter, who will be opening up the show. So Kobi is joining us today.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, and they're one of our new friends that we found over our tour, which has been a lot of fun. So I guess we'll just start at the beginning of Canadian Winter. You guys formed Winter 2009,
Yep.
right? Winter appropriately.
Yeah.
And is that when you came to Canada around that time?
Yeah, I arrived in October of '08.
Okay.
Really got to know my cousin. I didn't know Kojo that well. We'd met a couple of times when I'd been over here before, and really got to know him. We hung out a lot, and I wasn't planning on making music. We hung out, and after a couple of weeks, I was sort of slowly starting to get into it again, but it didn't really all kick off until I got to meet John at Lee Reed's album EP launch party in January of '09, and then I met Scotty through him, and then we started recording together, and yeah, it just sort of stepped up from there.
That's cool. And what were your kind of impressions in Hamilton music scene when you first came here, or even like the hip-hop scene in particular?
The hip-hop scene, it was interesting to me because I'm a music journalist, so my whole thing is always trying to find the hip-hop scene wherever I am, and like seeing what's going on. Like the first time I really got a chance to see anyone from Hamilton live was at Pepper Jack's when that was still open, and that was for Nil was playing with Russell. I met Russell up in Toronto the night before, and he told me to come down to Pepper Jack's, and it just so happened that's where my cousin hung out a lot as well, so we ended up hanging out there. So I got to see Nilla first, then I went to Lee's thing, and yeah, like there's just a huge amount of talent in the city. Even then, I mean, I think it was very much the case that there was a lot of people hibernating at the time who are now sort of out and just doing their thing. But you can see there's something bubbling under the surface. But the music scene in general, like the thing that I loved about going to Pepper Jack's is any given Saturday, like regardless of what sort of music you're into, there was a great band playing, and like it really just allowed me to take in all different types of music, and there was always a crowd there. And there was always you could always see like musicians in the crowd, and they were feeling it as well. So it was like there was a burgeoning community there.
Yeah, like I said, hip hop scene is something we didn't really know very much about in Hamilton until we went to your show and saw the different groups.
Oh, that's sweet.
Do you think people really know about Hamilton's hip hop scene, or?
It's getting to the point where they are like. There's all sorts of everyone has their own little area. And I guess the ideal would be that. Well, this is the thing. Is it ideal to have everyone centralised, or is it better to let everyone grow organically on their own? That's the debate in any scene. But like, there is a huge amount of talent hip hop wise, and yeah, I think everyone's making their own way. Like it's all basically it's a journey, and everyone gets there in their own time and at their own speed.
And we found like the real sense of community in the music community is really big in Hamilton. I guess like that lends itself to hip hop too, with all your collaborations and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a collaborative genre, I guess, maybe more than others.
Oh yeah, well, for us, like so many of the guests made the album, like the people who went out of their way to give their time and to really just lend their creativity to the project. People like Cash Caval, like I didn't know him from Adam. He was a friend of Scotty's. Like he used to go by Cheese Shop Paddy, which is the name that we gave him when we were putting out City Lights, but we didn't know what to credit him out, so I just said Cheese Shop Paddy, and that kind of became that. But he gave so much to the first project, Super 83 as well, Dex and Motem as well, and they were all the outside producers we used for the first project, and we also had Scotty and Johnny producing on that as well. And we're pretty much sticking with the same producers this time around, but if it wasn't for the collaborative spirit in the city and like people just being willing to take a chance creatively and like see what these new guys are doing, like we wanted to be able to do what we did.
Yeah. And then you guys won the Hamilton Music Award. That was last year, right?
Yeah.
For like a new group, that was like a big.
Oh yeah,
big
for
thing.
sure.
Yeah.
It was a really sweet surprise. Like it was the same year the High Cats album came out, and there's been a bunch of great albums come out since then as well. Like everything from Lee Reed's project to the TY project and the Force project, like all fantastic pieces of music. Slur's project, who was I listening to recently? UMSC, EJ Grant, and 88 and Be Out, like I really like them. They're younger kids, but
Yeah.
super talented, definitely.
That's good. And I guess next we'd kind of like to ask about songwriting and all of that. So we know your music, following your journey to Canada with the first record, and then with the second, it's like still continuing that journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much the whole thing of trying to get acclimatized to the new culture.
Yeah.
That, like, for me, this one's very much it's the story of the band, basically, like how we ended up like becoming friends, and like all the little things that you do with it as a band. Like, one of my favorite movies is More Better Blues. It's a Spike Lee movie about a jazz band, and it's set in the 90s, but it has a real like old school jazz feel to it, and it has all the best and worst things about being in a band. And if I can recreate that sort of vibe in the new album, like with my writing and with the beats we choose, I'll be super happy.
Yeah. And so for songwriting, I guess when the first album, was it kind of a way for you to like help the process of getting into the new home? And what was it?
Oh yeah, I agree. It was like I mean, I made music since I was like 15, 16, so it's something I was used to, and especially coming over here and acclimatizing to a new culture. Like, I kind of made a conscious decision not to make music over here, but I think when there's so much happening to you, and I write a lot of the stuff I write is based on what's going on in my life. So it seemed like I was pushing against the tide to not write something. So, but I try and put a bit of like all my experiences into it. Put it that way.
And Hamilton kind of acts as inspiration too.
Oh yeah, like there's so much inspiration in this city. It's what you find, definitely.
Yeah. So we're, I guess Get the Show on the Road video, we're going to mention that because that's like all things Hamilton. That was like a real kind of showcase of Hamilton, which is great.
I mean,
to see.
that was really down to Lee. Like I've said before, like we were basically just handsome mannequins. Like Lee moved us around and manipulated us, and like we talked back and forth a lot about what we're going to try and do with the video. Like Lee did a great job on it. Like he's just super creative, and also the guys that he brought along with him, all of them were just fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. That song kind of like inadvertently became like our tour theme song because we're all on the tour and the journey. So
nice. It's good timing then.
Yeah, and we got to be in the video, so that worked out well. I can ask about recording studios because another connection to our tours. We visited Boxcar.
Yep.
We're friends with Matt, and you guys have recorded there.
Oh yeah.
So have you recorded several different locations, I guess?
We recorded primarily at, we recorded all the first album at Scotty's place. Okay. We recorded 2 or 3 songs at Matt's. We've done the rest of the EP was done at Scotty's. We're going to be trying to do stuff like completely from scratch, so like essentially full live band. So we're going to probably record those. Maybe at Jay's place. Jay Baggett's our new guitarist.
Oh yeah.
So we'll probably play some of that at Jay's place. Like he's got set up for all that, and just really build a song from scratch, then take it to a studio and polish it up a bit and trim down the bits, and see what happens. Really.
Yeah, we noticed like lots of studios in the city. We didn't really know about that either. All the recording process.
Well, studios in the city like. These days it's so easy to make your own studio that everyone's house is potentially a studio. So
That's great. And I was going to ask you about the new lineup too. You've got Jay in there on guitar, right? So you're kind of going for more of a full band kind of sound.
Well, I mean, Scotty is very much Scotty's very much a studio engineer. Like playing guitar is his second love. Jay is a guitar man through and through, and the stuff he's played on the new EP sounds fantastic. Like it really adds another layer of like story almost to the songs. So yeah, it's been interesting to see what he's done. Like I sent him a couple of songs, and he just banged them out, sent them right back, and each one was perfect. It's just like wow.
That's great. Yeah. It gives it like a new dynamic to the band too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if I get my way, by the time we're done, there'll be a almost like a a secret live band behind certain parts of the second album, and then every once in a while we'll bring out the whole band.
And when's the new album in the fall? Is it coming out?
At the moment.
That'd be fitting.
Yeah, the album will more than likely be in the winter. Like we haven't decided whether it's this side of the new year or the other side of the new year. At the moment, it's probably going to be the other side of the new year, and the EP hopefully within the next month, and all the promo will kick into high gear for that, and we'll do a bunch of running around.
do you want to do any touring in the future, or you maybe local shows?
Oh, I'd like to get out and about. Like everyone has their own. I mean, we're not like when none of the band are in their 20s anymore, so it's not like we can all just like literally go full ball rock and roll lifestyle. But it would be nice to do a few weekend spot days, get out of town every once in a while. I mean, yeah, we've got a couple coming up, and look, it's going to be a new experience for us for sure.
Yeah. And now we're going to do our rendezvous rapid fire. So, first question: favorite place to eat in Hamilton?
It's a toss-up between Saigon Asian and Montfort, maybe. Okay. And I'm still yet to try. It's a food thing. I've been told that's really good. So, Saigon Asian and Montfort, 50-50. I can't call this at the moment.
Okay, cool. Favorite breakfast food?
Favorite breakfast food? Cereal.
Any like? Cereal in general?
Oh, well, at the moment I'm on a Harvest Crunch kick. Like, it reminds me of home because when we were kids, my mum used to buy Harvest Crunch, and I found it in Metro over here. Okay. And so I've just been eating that like all times of day and night with warm milk. It's really good.
If you were an alcoholic beverage, what would you be?
Rum and Coke.
Rum and Coke?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
classic.
Yeah, like that's pretty much my drink as well. Whiskey and ginger. Yeah, you wanted to. Yeah, I think rum and Coke. I'll go for rum and Coke.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Cool. What's your go-to karaoke song?
I've never done karaoke, but I feel like it might be, if I was to do karaoke, I feel like it would probably be a Prince song.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I go all the way big to Purple Rain. Ooh, that's maybe 1999. Because you can get, like, Purple Rain's a ballad, you've got to be on point for that. 1999, you can get lost in the enthusiasm. 1999, let's play it safe.
Well, this next one you already have a lovely English accent. Oh, but if you could speak flawlessly with any other accent, what would it be?
I want it to be something that really freaks people out. People think it's strange that there's a black person with an English accent. Like, I've had people offer to buy me drinks, like, you wouldn't believe. I'm going to tell everyone about this. They wouldn't believe it. Another accent, Irish. That's close to English as well, but that would freak people out even more.
Irish would be fun. Okay, what's your favorite word? Do you have a favorite
Absolutely. At the moment, it's absolutely. Yeah. I find myself using a lot of positive language, which I generally take to mean is a good thing. So yeah, absolutely. I end up saying a lot. Okay. Almost definitely.
What is your favorite concert or live performance that you've seen?
You might have to have a seat. I've got like a list of these. Okay, for different reasons, I'll run through all of them. Okay, I went to see Prince 3 times in 2007. How I got into that in itself is a story. I basically a couple of emails were forged. I was at journalism college at the time, and I basically managed to convince the people who were doing who ran the venue to give me tickets to write a blog about it. So I basically did a blog comparing Gordon Brown's first month in power to the Prince's concert run, and those gigs were incredible. Like I saw grown men lose their minds. Like, it's just everything about it. Like, I can remember exactly, the lights go off at like 8:30, people just start going crazy, and then there's a big Titantron at the top, and they've got all these musicians talking about how Prince influenced them. Then the cymbal-shaped stage starts glowing, and then you hear the opening chords of Purple Rain, and everyone loses their minds, and then there's a little door, and he comes up through the floor, and there's dry ice, and everyone was singing it, and then by the end, like, the crowd did the chorus at the end, everyone lost their minds. That easily the greatest show I've ever been to. I went to see Jay-Z in 2008, just after he'd done Glastonbury, which for me was an interesting time for him, because that's the time when he really I think he started to transcend rap.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like, Glastonbury's kind of a big deal at home, so if you do it, like, there's always got to be a reason behind you doing it, like, you've reached that level. And the whole thing with Liam Gallagher saying, I don't think I should be rapping
Right, because he was was he the first or one of the first?
He was one of the first. I think he probably was the first. Okay. I don't think Kanye's done it yet. Mm-hmm. But I remember going home and watching it. I've been out in London. I remember going home and watching it on YouTube and watching him come out and do Wonderwall. I was just like, wow. And then I went to see him in Hyde Park the next Thursday. Like I went, it was an all-day thing. Like I went and saw a bunch of acts, and then I went and saw Jay-Z in the evening, and just fantastic. Like between that and the Prince show, that's really what inspired some of the stuff behind Canadian Winter. Like I found it really interesting that he had a live band as opposed to just him and a DJ, because anyone can do that. So I thought it'd be interesting to throw some live elements in the next thing that I did that I could take seriously. And what other shows were? I could tell you about the Lauryn Hill show that I went to where she was heckled. Okay, but this I don't know how high this rates on my scale. Like the first song she came out and did was absolutely incredible. I've never heard it again since, and I don't know if anyone knows what it's called. But at one point she's sitting there playing like she's doing poetry, and it's really slowed the pace of the show down, and you hear someone scream, "Sing some songs, bitch!" And everyone's just like, oh god. And she carries on and just ignores it. And I was reading a magazine interview years later, like this must have been just before I came out here. And it turns out it was Amy Winehouse who screamed at her.
No way.
Yeah, like she was there with her cousin, apparently she was super drunk, and so yeah, it was Amy Winehouse. And the irony of course being that before Amy sadly passed away, that she was just doing like rambling live performances. For me, to me that's the best shows, the ones that if you're a musician, you go away thinking, wow, like, I wonder how they did. You go away thinking, looking for the strings behind the marionette, seeing what makes it all tick and that sort of thing.
Well, what is on your playlist right now?
At the moment, I probably should say this, but I heard the Nas album. It comes out on Tuesday, and I've just fallen in love with it. Like, just incredible. Like, yes, I grew up like that's pretty much the guy who got me into listening to hip hop in the first place. Like, I heard a song called Halftime on a Columbia Records tape sampler in like '92, '93, and after that, I just like, this is it for me. This is it. And he, to me, even back then, he had a whole thing about, like, while being incredibly sort of poetic, there was a kind of vulnerability towards it, around it. Like, there was the hint of it. And on this new record, he's talking about his breakup and his divorce, and he's talking about a lot of stuff around that. And you can see that sort of same vulnerability. There's still the same grittiness to it, but just something like I recommend. I'm gonna buy it. Like, actually, I don't feel bad about it. I'm gonna buy it on Tuesday on CD now because. And it's been a long time since I felt that way about an album. But the new Nas album is solidly on my playlist.
You could detour to anywhere in the world right now.
I'd like to go to Ghana. That's where my family's from. Okay. Just to see my parents have built themselves a little house out there, and they've got a little farmland. So I'd like to go take a little walk around there. Yeah, I don't know. Once upon a time, I would have probably said like Vegas or something. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have that sort of fast life thing in me anymore. But you never know. Like, you could go on a wild tear one weekend and end up down there. Yeah, probably Ghana, my parents' place.
What's your favorite mode of transportation?
Right now, either walking or the bus.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I haven't driven out here at all. Like, I don't miss it. Like, I had a car back home. And yeah, I used to drive everywhere. Like, it's just the freedom, but out here, public transport's so much more reliable than at home. But it doesn't even matter. I can wait for a bus and that will turn up.
What's one thing that you want to do, that you want to tick off your own checklist?
My own personal bucket list.
Yeah.
Publishing. Get book published. That's a whole different story. There's a whole different subtext to that, and that's something that's been underplayed throughout the whole time the band's been going. But yeah, that's on my list definitely.
Okay. What kind of book do you think you want to publish?
I've written like 2 kids' books. This was a long time. No, it wasn't. It was in like '07. A good friend of mine passed away in a car accident. We went to university together. And the sweetest guy is there, his name's Stephen Collins. And funny enough, like, there's people out here who remind me of him in a big way, like just their reaction to certain things. I can imagine Steve doing that, but he was a good friend of mine, and his mum knew I write, and it must have been a little while after he passed away. She said, if you want to do anything with any of the characters, let me know. So I had a look through a bunch of the stuff he did, and I found these characters, and I wrote the first 2 books out of probably what's going to end up being a series of 6. And I managed to scam my way into getting an agent, which was just completely ridiculous. And then the book went to some publishers, and there was some interest, but it didn't end up happening. So that's on my bucket list for sure.
Okay, and I guess that concludes our Rendezvous Rapid Fire. And thank you to Kobi for coming down and talking with us. And be sure to check out Canadian Winter at the Playlist 1.0 on July 28th.
Let's get the show on the road. Get the show on the road. There's nothing left to do but get the show on the road. Get the show on the road. It's been a fear and loathing acid trip. I can't find the adjectives, no magic tricks. We're living out the narratives that could be the basis for a